Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for Black Adam, the 2022, I guess technically newest DC movie, aside from Shazam Fury of the Gods, which I have not seen yet, but I want to because I was a big fan of that first movie. Let me kind of give you a quick rundown, since I, at this current moment, do not have a bunch of videos describing my thoughts or reviewing movies that came previous to this in the DCEU that existed, sorta kinda existed, even though it was a fucking mess, before James Gunn took over everything and then decided he was going to reboot everything in a couple of years. Now, Man of Steel kind of kicked us off on all of this after The Dark Knight Rises' big success, even though that movie sucks ass. It's okay. But it's a messy piece of shit, too. Man of Steel, I loved. It's the first time I ever fell in love with the Superman character. As much as I love the animated series from when I was a kid, that was the beginning of my origin of loving Superman. At that point, I realized this is a character I really, really enjoy, even though it was very different as an execution of that idea, that concept, from many of the previous ones, like the Christopher Reeves movies, the George Reeves, I guess, films, whatever they were, shorts back in the day, serials. It got me into Superman. Then Batman vs. Superman came out. I love that. I love it deeply. Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman of all time on screen. That will probably never be topped. As good as I think Robert Pattinson is, and Michael Keaton, even down to George Clooney, who I always adored because I was a kid when I saw his movie and I loved it so much. There are so many things I want to tell you about with that film that I can't talk about right now, but I love Batman vs. Superman. I think it's fantastic, and personally, it's not a smart movie, but I think it's smarter than the audience a lot of the time. A lot of people gave it a lot of shit for no real reason, right? Then we had the Justice League film and Wonder Woman, which I thought both of those sucked. Eventually, we got the Wonder Woman 1984, which was truly, truly fucking awful. Then we had, Aquaman was bad, Shazam was really good, and then there was the completion of my trilogy. My personal, at this moment, at least in my life as an adult, my personal favorite trilogy of all time, up there with The Matrix, up there with the original Star Wars trilogy and the prequel trilogy, even though those are nowhere close in quality to a lot of these films I just mentioned, the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League, which I love deeply. I think it's phenomenal. I don't care if it's 4 hours long. It's fantastic. I've seen it twice, all the way through, and I love it deeply. I think it is so good, and for me, that is my trilogy. Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think all three of those are incredible, in my opinion. Of course, we have Aquaman 2 coming out. Of course, we had Black Adam come out. We have Shazam Fury of the Gods out, which I haven't seen, like I said. The sad thing is, there are so many movies in this franchise that could have been so good. Like, genuinely, genuinely good. Genuinely amazing, genuinely crazy and fun and wild. Some of them have some really good action films and just overall, or action moments, and are overall just kind of poor movies. That's constantly the case for me. And when Black Adam, when it came out last year in 2022, it was rated PG-13, which makes sense for the marketing. It's 2 hours long. It's not 2.5 or anything like that. Even though I think the editing of the film very clearly shows there was like a 3-hour-long movie in the midst of this that was chopped up so much that I feel bad for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I feel bad for pretty much everybody involved. You have all of these things now, these character assassinations on poor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yes, I think he has an ego. Yeah, he's a bit of a dick in real life from what I can tell, from what you see on the Fast and Furious set, from what you see here. But there is that possibility, since Henry Cavill was very much involved with him, and he wanted to, work with Dwayne. He wanted things to happen again with bringing back Superman and all these things. You can tell when you watch this movie that someone in marketing, someone above him, thought the movie sucked so bad they just chopped it up. To me, I wish we had had the full cut. I hope at some point we have the full cut. I don't think something like the Suicide Squad movies, which I forgot to mention by the way, the first film being by David Ayer, the second being by James Gunn, not really a fan of either of those. I like the first more than the prior, or the latter, whatever. I think that DC, Warner Brothers, constantly fuck over DC fans, which really bothers me. Because then something that's solid, like Batman, The Batman, whatever, with Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, it's not a bad movie, it's just a mess. It's a mess too. It's too long, too many problems with it. The story, the Riddler, the toxic fandom, kind of weird shit they pulled there. I don't like all that. I think it's stupid. But Black Adam I was curious about, because it had the same treatment that BVS and Man of Steel got from a lot of people in the critique world on YouTube, the big YouTube reviewers, that trashed the hell out of it. Now let me tell you this, I by no means think this is a perfect movie. At all. I don't feel that way. Much as I love a lot of DC stuff, big fan of comics in DC, I know next to nothing about Black Adam. I know he's like more of a Shazam villain, not really an anti-hero like he's depicted here, but a straight-out villain. The only thing I've really read with him was the Injustice comics. I haven't read all of those either. I read quite a few, like volume after volume, and I love them. They're really good. He's really good there. That's all I really know about this character, and I assume, from what I'm hearing from fans, that this film is not completely dedicated to, I guess, Black Adam as a character. Maybe a little bit of his past it kind of is, but the rest of the film, the kind of story it tells here, is more of like a, I don't know, like an Iron Giant type of movie. It's kind of the idea of, oh, there's this mother, and she has a kid who rides a skateboard in like a Middle Eastern country. I think it's called Kondak. And apparently, in the prologue of the film, that's where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, Black Adam, as he's nicknamed, came from. And he has superpowers and all this thing, a cool superhero costume. And he was locked away like 5,000 years ago after he got his powers and freed the people of Kondak. And they happen to, when they get caught in a kind of a backstabbing betrayal situation, the mom and her son revive Black Adam to come back to life and to beat up the bad guys. And it kind of turns into an Iron Giant movie, but more of constantly killing people, because Black Adam can't help it. He just keeps killing people. When he is first resurrected, by the way, there are really cool kills in this film. I think, personally, the attacks on this movie are some bullshit. It's not a great movie, but it is certainly not a bad movie. I was very fairly entertained pretty much the entire way through. It had some good humor in there, even though sometimes it's a little too much MCU types of bullshit. The writing is not super strong or super powerful or anything like that, but there's quite a few moments with the action and the depiction of that with the CGI, the budget, the execution, all of that I thought was really fun. I thought it had a lot going for it in that regard. It looks like a pretty solid film. It's not cheap looking, in my opinion. I think that's something I really appreciate that I wish more people appreciated about it. The action scenes, the killing scenes, especially that first resurrection scene I was about to mention, where The Rock shows up after he's resurrected, grabs this one guy by the neck, and zaps the shit out of him with his electric lightning abilities or whatever, and sucks the life out of the dude until he turns into bones and just falls into pieces. Now that's awesome, but then I realized when I saw other things like from the trailer where a guy gets his arm ripped off in this same fight, there's no blood in the movie. And there's a lot of killing. A lot of like brutal killings. This was very clearly two things. A movie that was filmed to be rated R, and very clearly was meant to be like 3 hours long. It's fairly clear when you watch this movie, you can feel that. The pacing and the editing are so choppy in that respect. It usually keeps you very busy and very involved in a lot of action stuff. But I feel like there's clearly like 5 and 10 minutes here and there in every spot of the movie, every scene or sequence of the film, that's supposed to push those moments out a little bit further and make you care about the characters more, make you care about Kondak more as an actual... Is this a state? Is this a real place? I don't think Kondak actually exists. But like is it a country? What is it inside of the Middle Eastern areas? I don't know. But clearly these things were supposed to make you care more. Clearly. And it's sad that so much was cut out. I mean, clearly cut out. Because all of these things could have really made for a great movie. A really fun movie. With all that being said, as messy as it is, I still had a great time with this, and I will buy this for my collection. I don't own Wonder Woman 1984. I don't really own, well, I guess I was given Aquaman, and I was given the newer Suicide Squad film. There were some that I've been given that I just could live without, frankly. But in my collection, when it comes to the DC movies, I'm not some kind of hardcore completionist. But I will buy Black Adam. I could see myself watching this again very soon. I really liked it. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff in here. Black Adam as a character, The Rock got into like the best shape of his life, and he fits the way this character is written for this movie. Maybe a little bit of what I read in Injustice as well. I could see him playing that role. This was meant for The Rock. The kind of dedication this man had to this role is incredible. It really is, and I think it goes understated, frankly. I really, really appreciated everything they did for this movie, everyone involved, the writing, the directing, all of it. I think it was very much a better movie than it should have been, surprisingly enough. I can't believe I'm saying that, because I heard so much bad about this movie, I expected to walk right into it saying the same shit, basically, from all the people I typically trusted. The only person who seemed to really give it a positive review was Jeremy Johns and some people I talked to in the DC community of movie fans, you know? I mean, I'm excited for things like The Flash coming up, right? Like, I didn't expect that shit. I don't even like Ezra Miller. I think he's a fucking loser, but I expected this movie to be bad from the way people talked about it. I liked it. I like the history of Kondak. I like how Black Adam in this movie, again, I don't really think this has ever been done in the comics, but in this movie, he being kind of a representative of freedom to these people was interesting. It's kind of like their version of Superman, and the way we saw Superman portrayed in Batman vs. Superman, like the scene where there's a flood. He shows up in like a foreign area, people are reaching out and touching him in like a Day of the Dead ceremony type of thing. Like, that stuff was cool how that mimicked here, and it makes the Superman ties that The Rock wanted to develop in the future really make sense. You know, again, this is more of an anti-hero. This is a version in the DC world, in the DCEU at least world, of having an evil Superman. Even though they teased in BVS and all of that Superman was going to go evil and go an injustice route at some point in the future, if they kept making movies, if Snyder was still involved, so on and so on. It makes me sad because clearly The Rock is one of the few in Hollywood who appreciate those movies and wanted to continue that on. And I'm pissed how the media, how Zachary Levi, who I love, who played Shazam, or plays Shazam, whatever's going to happen with that, it upsets me to see how everybody's pointing at The Rock and blaming him for what's happening at DC Studios right now. I don't think the guy deserves it, frankly. I think it's a very cool movie with a lot of cool shit in it. One of my favorite things about the film, I do want to kind of move over to something else, is the Justice Society of America, which is mainly ran, from what I can tell, by Hawkman, who I've only known mainly from a little bit of the DC Legends of Tomorrow, but mainly from the old Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoons that tie into the Bruce Timm universe, which I really enjoyed that back in the day too. Really good stuff. Really sad time of my life. My parents split up back then. At that time, when that show was on TV, my cousin and I watched Unlimited every single weekend as it premiered. Really great show if you haven't seen it. I recently bought it at Walmart for like $20, $25 for the whole series. Pretty solid. I'm really excited about that. By the way, if you hear anything in the background, I know this is a little random and a little funny, maybe not, maybe so, I don't know. If you hear anything that sounds like farting, I promise you it's this chair. I'm borrowing my wife's desk chair, and it's every time I move, because I can't sit still, my old chair was just a wooden chair, and it would creak and stuff in the background, but this one actually, I've got jeans on, dude, and jeans and faux leather, well, they like to make funny noises, so just beware. I'm not farting on you. Anyway, so I'm disappointed by a lot of things in the film, but the Justice Society of America is kind of a mishmash of good and bad, and surprise and not surprise, It's kind of led by Hawkman, who happens to be black in the film, which kind of surprised me. I thought the actor was really good. I don't know if he got in his shape for this movie or if he was already in really impeccable shape, but the dude looks great, man. I'm really impressed with his costume and everything. Again, where they have like his arms exposed and stuff. That guy got in incredible shape. I don't know who he is, but props to you, man. For real. He should have been the new Blade for the MCU, frankly. This group of Justice Society is kind of like an offshoot of like a Justice League of America type of thing, It kind of reminds me of the Super Friends from back in the day, if anybody knows about that, the old cartoon from way back when, like my dad's age. It reminds me of that. But it's also kind of led by Dr. Fate, who is played by Pierce Brosnan. I'm not a Pierce Brosnan guy, if I'm being honest with you. I don't really think he can act, if I'm being honest with you. I recently saw like one of his earliest movies, if not his first movie, called Nomads, which was directed and, I guess, written by John McTiernan, who made Die Hard, Predator. I reviewed that on my other channel. I don't want to post it. You guys probably already know it. Some of you are probably already subscribed to that channel, but I'm kind of getting away from that and trying this thing out again with the microphone, so on and so on, because I kind of prefer this format. I think the videos are better this way, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about that down in the comment section. But anyway, I saw Nomads. It's a bad movie, but he tries in it, but I don't really think he's that good of an actor. He does a French accent, for example, in that movie. He sounds Cuban. Bag of Bones, the Stephen King book adaptation to a miniseries. It's a horrible movie. I can't believe Mick Garris made that shit. And he's really bad in it. As in, Pierce Brosnan is really bad at it. He plays my favorite character in Stephen King books, Mike Noonan, a writer who lost his wife. And he could have been good for that. Pierce was the right age and everything back when that came out, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And they ruined it. They wasted him, you know? Really bad performance there. Of course, he played Bond. That's probably what he's the most well-known of. When I heard that he was going to be in this as Dr. Fate, I was kind of surprised. And I got to admit, I don't hate him in the movie. He's pretty solid. I like him. Dr. Fate is cool. I don't really understand all of his powers. Some of them make no fucking sense at all for the timeline of the film, for what they go through in this movie. Some of the events that involve certain characters that Dr. Fate cares about, because apparently Dr. Fate can know you're going to die, right? He knows when and how and all of that. That's the name, Dr. Fate. And his abilities don't always make sense, you know, because you would think if you tried to help somebody survive a bad situation, like getting killed or something, wouldn't you then know how they would die in the future, knowing that you're going to make that choice to try to save them? Wouldn't you know? It doesn't make any sense. Back to Hawkman, though, I didn't really talk about his powers. In case you don't know who he is, of course, he just grows wings out of his back. They're not always there like they are in the cartoon, but they just kind of grow out. He flies, that kind of thing. He has this big, like, what's that thing called? A mace? It's like a mace that spins. It's kind of neat. Hawkman, I don't hate. I think he's an okay character for kind of like a side character. I don't think he should have been the leader of this group, in my opinion. That should have been just flat out been Dr. Fate or like Santana or something like that. Satana? How do you say her name? Anyway, the magician chick. All of us know her. She's hot. She should have been in this, and she should have been the leader with Dr. Fate, in my opinion. Or have Constantine. Something like that. You also have another fellow in here. He's called Atom Smasher, and I'm not sure if he is the same Atom from, like, the TV show, like the Arrowverse that, you know, Brandon Routh played. I don't know who this Atom Smasher character is. I've heard the name in comics. I might have even seen him here and there. The costume looks really familiar. It's kind of like a gray Deadpool with some red stripings and stuff. But this kid they picked to play him, I don't know him from anything. But he's not bad. He's okay. I don't hate the guy. I could see him being better in future movies. And by the end of the film, the way he and The Rock kind of connect a little bit, I liked that. I thought it was fun. Let's see. The last chick in here, I think it's called Cyclone or something. It's the fucking worst character in the movie. A lot of people would dedicate that title to the mom character, to the little boy who bonds with Black Adam in that, again, that Iron Giant way. I didn't think either of them were bad, by the way. I thought the uncle was cool, the big, huge guy. I thought he was pretty cool, really funny comic relief for kind of an in-between tones, funny and serious movie. He was great. But this chick here, Cyclone, I don't think I've ever heard of her. In the comics, in TV shows, animated shows, anything like that. She's probably a new character. Probably like in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. They tried to bring in America Chavez that literally no one fucking likes. She's annoying, she's stupid, bad character, plain and simple, from newer comics. If Cyclone was from newer stuff, I would absolutely 1000% not be fucking surprised. But she's awful. She just twirls. There was a toy when I was a kid, and it was like a little wand for little girls, and they clicked a button, and this Barbie doll thing that literally couldn't move, it just went up in the air and spun around really, really fast, and it would flow its way down to the ground. Not drop, but slowly flow its way down in a very majestic way. It was a very odd toy. I think they still even make some things kind of like that. I don't know. But this chick, that's all she fucking does. She will literally jump out of a helicopter and twirl like she's doing ballet all the way to the earth. And she can defy gravity by doing this. She creates cyclones. She messes with the wind. That's her ability. That's who you fucking picked for this movie. You had all of this access to so many characters, and that's who you pick. That was a horrible choice. Not that the actress was bad. She had nothing to work with. She was a great example of a character that was wasted for the film. She should not have been in this movie. Not the actress, I just mean that character. I feel bad for her. The actress, not the character. This movie could have done that without the whole Justice Society of America. We could have just had Dr. Fate, and I would have been cool with it, you know, because Pierce did a really good job. Hawkman did a good job. Have a team-up movie with them going after Black Adam and trying to stop him. By the end of the movie, we kind of go about this whole thing. By the way, most of the film, everybody's chasing after this crown thing that was made by, like, Demon Kings, which was kind of sick looking. We saw Hell at one point in the film. It was kind of cool. I don't like Hell. I'm a Christian, but, you know, it's still kind of surprising to see the way that looked in this movie. The background to Black Adam was kind of cool. I liked that. Again, it clearly should have been like 25 minutes long in that portion, that prologue, if you will. Instead of having a kid narrate everything for like 5 minutes and be a horrible actor and cannot voice over to save his life. Not very good. But everybody's chasing after this Black Crown thing, right? And that was fun. The adventure they go through to get this, that eventually falls into the hands of this family that I talked about, and Black Adam, those things are kind of cool. I like the history of Black Adam. I think the past of his life was pretty neat. I like how we learn certain things at the beginning of the film, and by the end of the film, he's talking about, like, no, that's not how this happened. This, and this happened instead. Those were nice moments. I enjoyed all of that. I feel like the film is underrated because of the kind of effort they tried to put in. But again, I understand why people hate the movie because of how sloppy it feels. You know, there's so many things, so many shit things happen in this movie that it just, again, the pacing is super fast on this, and it should not be like that at all, in my opinion. This should have been a character you took your time with, developed heavily, and like the Zack Snyder cut, or like BVS having the Ultimate Edition, or Ultimate Cut, or whatever it was called. You should have done that and put it in the theaters. Put the 3-hour movie in there, dude. If it's good, people will go to see it. And I think people would have went to have seen a big 3-hour version of this because people like The Rock. And people like DC, and Marvel's dying out. This was DC's chance to really take over. And I think they could have done that if they had just put out the full movie. And I still hope they do, because I think it would be good. And again, I'll buy even this crappy, messy edition, because it's not a bad movie. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Again, there's jokes and humor in here that I like. There's a little bit of Terminator 2 in the blood of the veins of this movie. And I like that. It worked. It worked surprisingly well. I don't think it should have. I think it was kind of a bad mistake to say, hey, you know what? I want to make Terminator 2/Iron Giant out of Black Adam's movie script. I think that was a bad idea. It should have been Black Adam was introduced as the villain of Shazam 2. That's what should have happened. I don't really understand what happened aside from the rumors that it's, The Rock's ego. I'm not going to say whether that is or is not the case. It probably is, frankly. But it was a bad choice. It was just a bad choice, plain and simple. But I had a good time. And frankly, a lot of movies in 2022 that weren't horror films, well, there's the big ones like Halloween Ends that really fucking sucked, but a lot of movies last year were not great. This surprised me by how much I had a good time with it. I'd love to hear down in the comment section down below what you think about it, if you really enjoyed it, if you hated it. I'd love to hear all of that down below, because it really surprised me by how good of a time I had with this thing. It just really hit all of the notes that I think it should have. It was fun. The acting was good from pretty much everybody that, had something to work with. I don't blame the people who put in a decent or bad performance because, again, like the girl that played Cyclone, it's more about the writing, more about the horrible character they gave her that literally no one on the fucking planet wanted. You could have just had Hawk Girl, I don't know. Hawk Woman? I think it's Hawk Girl, though. Anyway, with all that being said, I feel bad for The Rock. I feel bad for how everybody got blamed for this movie being bad, but WB. Even down to like stars like Zachary Levi blaming everybody. It's sad. It's sad that it went this route, man. Even Ben Affleck is like, fuck all of you, I'm done. I feel bad for him, too. He got screwed in all these deals with, like, Matt Reeves and everything. Even so, Black Adam, I really enjoyed it. If you're a big fan of the DCU stuff I talked about, like Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder Justice League cut, Shazam, if you like those kinds of things, mainly Shazam, you need to see Shazam to really understand a lot of the abilities that happen here with Black Adam and how he gets his powers. I mean, you can watch it without it, but, it's still going to fuck you up a little bit. If you like those movies I mentioned, the ones that I like, I think you'll really like this. If you're more into, like, Aquaman and, stuff like that, the Wonder Woman films, which I think suck, both of them suck, get over it. The Suicide Squad movies, mainly the newest one from James Gunn, if you're into that kind of thing, this is probably not going to be up your alley. Yeah, it's got its flaws. But it was worth the money to rent it for $6. Now, again, I'm going to buy this. I've said it a billion times, but I'm going to pick this up. I really liked it. Anyway, what did you think? Put your thoughts and comments down below. 2 hours long. That surprised me a lot. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.